Good morning, students. It is the video for class 11. It is the first video from a snapshot of the chapter Albert Einstein at primary school, at school you can say. Here in this video I would like to tell you about Patrick Pringle, who is one of the authors known for the biographies writing, and he has described about the early life of Albert Einstein, who was born in Germany, and later how he developed his skill and talent and how he was conflicted with the ideas of the history teacher who wanted him to memorize the dates chronologically based on the events, but he was against it. He did not like it to happen because he wanted to know the reasons, and that he had this conviction that it is not education to learn the dates and events, but to know about the reasons of the events that occur in life and the history, so that one can rectify one's own ideas as well as understand the things that happen in the world. So here I will tell you something more about him that you will know gradually. So just know and learn the things that happen in this chapter. You can see one of the oldest picture of Albert Einstein here. Albert Einstein is born to Hermann Einstein, a salesman and engineer, and his wife Pauline in Ulm, Germany. Residences in Germany and Italy, Switzerland and USA. He just resided there. What was his ethnicity? That everyone likes to know. That is Ashkenazi Jewish. He was known for his activities based on the theory of relativity, special relativity, photoelectric field, Brownian motion, mass energy, equivalence. These are the part of his career that he got excellent theory and he just propounded it to the world. Einstein field equations, unified field theory, and Bose-Einstein statistics that was invented. About his education, although he was Jewish, he attended a Catholic school. That is the school for the Christians. Although Einstein had early speech difficulty, he often said he used to repeat his own sentences. He was a top student in elementary school. Einstein family moved to Italy. He had been behind to find high school. He always got 10% marks, means 100% marks. But he withdrew to join his family. Rather than completing high school, Einstein decided to directly go to that ETH, and that is what ETH Zurich, the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology, in which Zurich, which he did not get into. His family sent him away to finish secondary education. Here you can understand what he got. Einstein and Mileva had 3 children, a daughter born before their marriage and 2 sons. Einstein never met his daughter Elizel, and though there is no official record of her, it is believed she died before the age of 2. Their first son, Hans Albert, studied engineering in Zurich, and after which that moved to the United States with his wife and children. Their second son was most of his adult, and this was one of the things that Albert and Mary divorced after 14 years of their marriage, and Elsa, who was Albert's first cousin maternally and his second cousin personally, and he was married to Elsa. Really, it was one of the biggest things that happened in his life. Before Einstein, no one really understood how light really worked. It was a wave, particle, quantum number one really knew. Light did not follow Newtonian's physics. In 1905, Einstein put out a paper that declared light travels as both a wave and as particles called quanta, mostly because it has to travel. The Einstein field equations are a set of 10 equations in which Einstein's theory of general relativity, in which the fundamental force of gravitation is described. Here, you can understand it as a curved space-time caused by matter and energy. They were first published in 1915. Then the Einstein field equations are used to become his theory and curvature of space-time resulting from the presence of mass and energy. That is, they determine the movement tensor of space, and that is for a given arrangement of a stress energy in which he could find it so universally true. Here you can know from the Patrick Pringle that is essential to be understood because it is given in the text. Albert Einstein was born in 1879 and died in the year 1955 after 8 years of India's independence, who is regarded as the greatest physicist since Newton came into existence. In this following extract from the young Einstein, the well-known biographer Patrick Pringle describes the circumstances which led to Albert Einstein's expulsion from a German school. Here it is the extract. Now, line by line explanation you will understand. In what year Einstein asked the theory about a question that was what he was the history teacher? Did the Prussians defeat the French at Waterloo? Albert replied he did not know. He wanted to know, why don't you know? You have been told it often enough. Einstein replied, he must have forgotten. Did you ever try to learn? Asked Braun. It is the history teacher, Mr. Braun, and he said, no, sir. Albert replied with his usual unthinking honesty, why not? He said, I can't see any point in learning dates. One can always look them up in a book. Mr. Braun was speechless for a few minutes. You amaze me, Einstein, he said at last. Don't you realize that one can always look most things up in books? That applies to all the facts you learn at school. Yes, sir, he replied. Then I suppose you don't see any point in learning facts. Frankly, sir, Albert replied, I don't. Then you don't believe in education at all. Now it is the question that is related to education. Oh, yes, sir. I don't think learning facts is education. What a clear cut reply Einstein gave at early years of his life and career. You can understand this very young child replied that learning facts is not education. But what is education? That you must understand, my dear teacher, my in that case, said the history teacher with heavy sarcasm. He wanted to make a clear cut comment that you are just trying to defy the rules and regulations of the German school. Perhaps you will be so kind as to tell the class the Einstein theory of education. Einstein theory of education, what a wonderful question came to him. Albert, as a young child, was confused. He thought it was not facts that matter but ideas. I don't see the point in learning the dates of battles or even which the armies killed more men. I would be more interested in learning why those soldiers were trying to kill each other. What a clear message in early childhood was given as it shows morning shows the day. If the morning is bright and sunny, the day will have no difficulty and everyone will have vitamin D from the sun. Why those soldiers were trying to kill each other, he was interested in knowing the reason of their killings. That's enough. He got irritated and furious. The teacher became furious. Fired at him. Mr. Brown's eyes were cold and cruel. We don't want a lecture from you, Einstein. Teacher doesn't like to listen to the teacher. It is one of the biggest demerits in a teacher. A teacher must try to understand what a child wants to say because he is a unbounded spirit, the spirit that knows no limitation. But here, why teacher wants to restrict this child, I did not understand. I would be more interested in learning why those soldiers were trying to kill. Here, teacher did not like to listen to the lecture. You will stay in for an extra period today. Punishment was granted. That he would have to stay for an extra period. That day, although he did not imagine, it would do him much good. Staying for an extra hour could not do him much good. It won't do the school any good either. He was disgraced. I don't know why you continue to come. And the teacher remarked that he should not come. Why he comes to school? That was a reason. It is not why. It is not my wish. Oh, Albert pointed out. He also did not want to attend the same school where the voice of a child, voice of a student is not allowed to be heard. Then you are an ungrateful boy. Ungrateful. What disgrace he meant? How he was ungrateful? The teacher spoke something mindlessly in my view. As it says, and ought to be ashamed of himself. He suggested him ask his father to take him away from the school. Albert felt miserable, very sad when he left school that afternoon. It had been a bad day. Most days were bad now anyway. But because he had to go back to the hateful place the next morning, now he hated this school. He only wished his father would take him away, but there was no point in even speaking. He knew what the answer his father would give. He would have to stay until he had taken his diploma. And going back to his lodgings did not cheer him up. Father would not be happy to find his son at home while school was going on. His father had so little money to spare that Albert had been found a room in one of the poorest quarters of Munich. Poverty is such a curse that really bends anyone but those who are of hard will and determined. They never give up. Though he lived in the poorest quarters of Munich, he did not mind the bad food and lack of comfort, or even the dirt and squalor filth. But he hated the atmosphere of slum violence. Those people who live in slum, they really are ignorant, foolish, mindless, and they believe that drinking can give them power and that energy could be spent on fighting and quarreling. Really, it is the sound that echoes in their minds and hearts. His landlady beat her children regularly, and every Saturday her husband came drunk. So violent husband of the landlady had and beat her. It was a crime against the women. But at least you have a room of your own, which is more than he could say. And said Yuri when he called round in the evening. You live among civilized human beings, even if they are all poor students, said Albert. They are not all civilized, Yuri replied. Did you not hear that one of them was killed last week in a duel? Duel means when the two persons fight together. And what happens to the one who killed him? Nothing. Nothing happened. One who was a killer. He is even proud of it. Why? Because he had done such a heinous crime, and he feels that he can kill anyone else. His only worry is that the authorities have told him not to fight any more duels. He is upset about this. Why do people kill each other? Because he has not a single spot on his face to wear for the rest of his life as a badge of honor. Means when he fought duels, there was no wrong and no spot. Exclaimed Albert, and these are the stints. Well, you will be a student one day, said Yuri. Yuri just confirmed that he would certainly be a certain person who would just rise and develop as a good student. Thank you, my child. Thank you, children. And you will just see and watch and subscribe all these things. That is all, and try to understand the things very clearly. Thank you.